Hello everybody and welcome to this texturing process tutorial in which I'm going to show you how we can replicate the way how materials are textured in Shaper 3D and do this actually inside Blender. In this exercise, we will work with an imported USDZ model that comes already with materials from Shaper 3D and an untextured object OBJ that has no materials. And then I will show you how we can use the box mapping in Blender to basically wrap materials over the geometry in a very similar way how this works in Shaper 3D. And in the end, we will start first working on the USDZ model, then on the OBJ model. I will show you also a little bit of an advantage of the OBJ model because, as you can see here, the legs with the OBJ model are separated because then by doing this, we can rotate the object and map actually the texture much better over it. And the really nice thing about this process is that all these objects only have one and the same material. So one change to the material will adjust all the materials on all the objects. So this is a really great process video. And with all that said, let's do it. Okay, let's get started. As you can see, I have loaded the Blender demo file. The download link is in the description of this video. And before we get started, let me run you through how everything I have set up. So we have a ground plane. Then we have the untextured OBJ export, and we have the with PBR materials textured USDZ export, both imported into Blender. In addition, I also have a collection here in which I have all the initial raw fragments of that USDC import, because it's actually very important to understand how this impacts how we then can deal with materials. Let's focus first on the USDC object. So let's turn off the OBJ export and let's take a look at what I have here. Let's go to materials. And you see every mesh fragment of that USDZ export has its own material. And when I select these objects together with left mouse button and shift and click join, now you see they're all inside one body. Now we had 4 objects. Each object has its own material. We fuse these 4 fragments into one container. Now that means then also that container has all the materials too. Okay, very good. So this actually is going to be very useful later to understand because we want to select all the geometry that only has, let's say, the blue leather. So we can then select it and then replace a new material. Very good. So let's turn this one off. Very good. Here we are. And we can work on this chair. So the blue leather we would like to replace with a different type of leather, for example, and then that matte ABS plastic defined in Shaper 3D, we would like to replace with, let's say, a wood material. Very good. So where do we get these materials from? Let's go to a web browser. A pretty good website for architectural materials and such is actually SketchUp Texture. Logically, also Polyheaven is another very good one. This offers free textures and models, and for $14 per year, you become a club member. Then you have access to better texture sets. So let's actually go to textures. There we are. And then we can type in here leather, for example, and search. There we are. You see we have quite a nice set. You can scroll up and down. Here's a pretty nice perforated model. And if I click on preview, this is the image you can get. minus a watermark from the free version. And then when you buy actually the club membership, again, it's just $14 per year, you then also get the individual other maps. So for example, normals, bump mapping, specularity for the roughness, and displacement for geometry displacement and such. But actually in this exercise, I'm primarily going to work with the free version. I show you how far we even can get with that. So on your side, simply click on download for that. Cool. Okay, we're in leather. Let's go back. If we scroll down again, you will see there are also other quite really nice leather examples. For example, this one, it has this nice kind of like skin material on it. And then also here, just click on the free version and you see now there's displacement, specular, normal. It's a pretty much the industry standard. This is the same across every render engine you will use. Very good. Perfect. Okay. For wood veneers, for example, we can then go to Google and type in walnut veneer because the veneer is not going to tile. So it doesn't really make sense to search for walnut veneer seamless texture. So I simply typed in walnut veneer, went to images, go to tools. What you want to make sure is that you select the large format, because this means if you then select one of these images and click on it, very often these are large images. This is actually a really nice close-up, so that's kind of pointless to use. Uh, this is actually much better already. It shows that veneer photographed from more of a distance. Then you can right click and say save image as and save it to your desktop. Okay, let's go back to Blender. So in Blender now, I would like to replace that blue leather with this other leather I have downloaded. And with the USDZ export, there is a little bit of a two-step process, but it's not too complicated. So let's go to edit mode. Then we select nothing. And now we need to figure out which of these materials is actually that blue leather. We can click on select. Oh, that is actually one already. What about this one? Select. Nope, that is not it. So deselect, go to here, select. Nope, deselect, select this one. And that is it. So you see that now by having selected a material and clicking select, you select the geometry that uses that material. And here comes now the fun next step. We click plus new, so we make a new material slot, create a new material. We can call this leather. Let's make this red so we can see it. And then now we are assigning this material to that selection. There it is. Perfect. Cool, no? Wasn't too complicated. Now, we can later load the leather material into this and then it will be mapped over that geometry. Let's deselect and select. So this doesn't have anything associated anymore. So this one and this one, great. That is actually now the rest of the body. Very good. So we can now create again a new material slot, new material. Then we call this wood. Let's maybe give this a different color there. And then we click assign. Beautiful. And with that done, then in edit mode, this actually doesn't work annoyingly, but in object mode, then we can select these materials we don't need anymore and we remove them. So you see that now very easily we selected the geometry we want to retexture. Okay, so let's actually give that red part that leather and then the brown we turn into wood. And this is going to be really easy. Before we continue, right click on this border, horizontal split, move this one down, and then go to shader editor. We can press N, zoom out a little bit. Very good. And this is the list view of the material, but inside the shader editor, it is much easier to work. We can select the materials in here, or actually also there. But I find this easier here visually. So inside this red color, we would like to load the leather material. So left mouse button, click and drag, and then we can type in image texture, or here it is, and it is already connected. Then click open, and here I have this perforated leather material. Click open. There, look, it is already there. But we would like to adjust the scale, etc. So this vector, this is actually the input for the scale. So the mapping, we can click and drag, and then we say mapping vector. It connects it already. Here's our location, rotation, and scale. Plus now we would like to tell the software, so this texture translation command, we would like to use the object coordinate system there. Alternatively, now logically, you can also go and say add the texture coordinate, add the mapping, and then we connect these elements, and there we are. It's pretty much the same. Okay, very good. So this starts to look a little bit funny. That's fine, because this flat we want to turn into box mapping, which is in a very similar way how Shaper works. It's basically projecting the geometry from the different left, right, front, back, top, bottom. And here this looks kind of crazy. That's also normal. And we can blend this a little bit to fake it. So not too much. And then the scale is off. So left mouse button, click and drag, type in 4. Yeah, this actually looks better. Now this is, as you can see, not perfect. But this is, in terms of time used to create an illusion, very fast. And if I show this here from a distance, you actually do not see that inaccuracy. Okay, so this is fine. Very good. Let's actually repeat the same thing with the wood material. So you see the steps are always the same. Okay, so here's my image texture. There is the wood. Thank you. We will go to box, keep the blend off for the moment, then mapping vector and texture object. Everything works good. I will turn off the ground plane right now so I can look from the bottom. And this looks actually pretty nice, but we can see, because of the box mapping, there are some hard edges. And again, those we can blend away with the blend function. Works actually really good with veneers. There. Very nice. Cool. Then we can go back to leather. This actually has this yellow color. If we would like to adjust the color, we could load this image into Photoshop and adjust it if you want to, or we just do this right here. So go to add and then color, hue, saturation, and value, and then drag this over it or connect via left mouse button, click these sockets. And then here we have the hue slider. If we go to the left, it's cyan. If we go to the right, it's cyan. Yep, cyan. And with all these individual steps, you see we are actually going through the individual materials. Oh, pretty cool. So we can select an input material and then do a color shift this way. We can also change the saturation or decrease the saturation. without having to go into Photoshop, for example. I would like this to be more orange, so this is red, 0.45 there. That's kind of like the in between. Pretty nice, cool. Yeah, this looks actually really nice. Okay, let's perfect this material a little bit. We do have the roughness, so we can make this really rough or glossy. And I would like to have a little bit of a bump mapping on it, so it looks like there are holes. Let's turn this one off. Make this dark, so we can see just the black body with the reflection on it, or the blurry reflection. And here the normal, that is the term for the surface direction or for bump mapping. So what I will do now is I will go and say add, and then I could go to, let's see, where did they put this to? Converter, RGB to black and white. So I take this color image, make this a grayscale image. Now you see now this is a nice grayscale image. And this I would like to go into the normal, but I need to tell the the software, and again, this is pretty much standard in today's render programs, I would like to use the bump function. There we are. So this grayscale image we put into the height. Think about the bump. Now grooves, hills, and valleys. So black and white, we have left and right, up and down, more or less. And then this goes into there, takes a second. And now you see, wow, look at that. We have actually this structure. And then with the strength, we can adjust how much this is bumpy or not. Just a little bit. Let's say like that. If I turn the roughness down to 0, so it's super polished, now there you can see this even more. Yeah, pretty cool. We could, by the way, instead of using this color adjustment, we could now go to the base color and simply pick the type of material color we would like to use. Well, because with this texture, we are going to just generate the bump mapping. This might sound a little bit cryptic, but this is a colored image. I only want to use kind of like not the color value, but the, yeah, let's say the black and white version. Then I can actually also skip this RGB to black and white converter. There we are. It's a step easier to do. I can play with this a little bit. And what happens if I take this and put that into the roughness slider? Here, I take this off. Maybe I make this black again so I can see, oh, just the holes are actually reflective. I would like to invert this effect. So I can go to add color, invert color, put this to there, and now you see it actually inverted the color. Cool. And when I put this back, let's see how does this look. Yeah, that's actually quite nice, but it is kind of glossy. So what I will do next is if I bring this back to here, you can see what we have. No, so there it is. And this I would like, hold on, actually, why is this, 1 second. Okay, this is actually bluish. So here I will, just to be clear, where is it again? There, I put this one to there. So this is now black and white. Very good. And I will, if you know Photoshop, we have the levels. So we have black and white, and we can compress the colors. I'm going to add a color ramp. When I put the color ramp to here, you see I have a left and a right slider. And when I move this around, there you see I can adjust what should be black, what should be white, or grayscale. And that is very useful when we put this into the roughness, then to see, okay, this is the default, this is fine. If I bring this over, this becomes more glossy. If I bring this over, it becomes more rough. No? Okay, so we want to have a somewhat of a shine. There. This looks actually much better. So a little bit of a sheen. Beautiful. Okay, let's bring back our object color. There we are. There, look at that. So the beautiful thing about this process, what I showed you here, is pretty much this also applies to any type of fabric. This applies to also any type of wood material, for example. Beautiful. Okay, there we are. So this is actually a really nice looking chair already, the way how we retextured it. Besides this color, there, let's make this pop better. Let's go maybe to this yellow, and that's quite nice. Now I would like to make this a tick better, and this is where, for example, the OBJ format can come in very handy. So why do I show this? With the USDZ, if you have an object and you want to render it as is, USDZ is perfect because from Shaper it comes with the materials. If you want to exchange the materials later anyway, then honestly you can also just use the OBJ format. Because the OBJ format has the advantage when you import it, it is just one mesh. But when we go into edit mode, I press AA to select nothing. I click on one piece and I press L. Oh, look at that. These are all the individual bodies. So the way how I modeled objects, I get the meshes as the individual bodies too. So that is very useful. So what we're going to do now is the following. Let's press AA to deselect everything. Then we are going to add, let's say, the leather material. There we are. Okay. Can go into object mode to take a look at it. Yep, there it is. It looks kind of funny. We want to have the other pieces to be the wood material. Okay, so we can go into edit mode, and then I select with L these other elements. I move my mouse over these parts. Very good. Then I click plus, and then not new. I just look for the wood material, and then I click assign. There, and object mode. There we are. Pretty cool. And I think if I show this to the USDZ, we don't really see much of a difference. And you might ask yourself now, well, why does I show you that? No, why do I show you that? And here it comes. So with the box mode, the texture is projected from left, right, top, front. But what is actually pretty cool in Shaper, when you rotate your object, the texture rotates with the orientation of the object. So can we do this here? Yes, we can, but we have to manipulate this a little bit. So I go into edit mode, press AA, and I press L on this leg, press P to separate, press L on that leg, press P to separate, which is, I think, there, separate, P. No, so that's the opposite actually of the joint when you join objects together into one. And now with P, you can separate them. Beautiful. Okay, then let's go to object mode. We have now the legs and the rest of the chair. What we can do now is the following. We can press N for the toolbar to be visible. And I see there's a tiny tick of a rotation. I can write this to 0 and 0. Then I can, with left mouse button and shift, select both, and I apply the scale. There we are. So pay attention to what I do next. I select this object. Here's the center point. And I'm going with R to rotate this object so it is kind of vertical. Yeah, let's say 14 degrees or 13 degrees. Keep that degree in your memory. And now we are going to apply the scale. Yeah, I zoom in a little bit so you can see what will happen. Rotation. You see now? The veneer goes vertical. Yeah. And then we just go back, minus 13. Now we have the veneer running actually along the piece. So here, let's do this one more time. So minus 13. Then we apply the rotation. Look how beautiful this looks now. 13. There we are back. Then, no, this line unfortunately actually goes down. Well, and the veneer doesn't go up and down all the time. But what we can do now here is there's also an edge. We can play with the location. Holding shift and left mouse button, we can move this around. We can also move this a little bit left and right. There. But if we are honest and we compare the left legs to the right legs, the left legs looks actually pretty cool, pretty believable. There are a lot of flaws with them. So for example, this is not correct. But again, if we show this from a distance, hey, this will be fine. Okay, very good. So we are reaching kind of like the end of this exercise, what I wanted to show. I will go back here into basic view, and for the leather, here I would like to show you. So this is a very easy hack to use the box mapping to project the material over. And let me bring this one back, and I do, where's my hue shift, color, 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 there. There we are, beautiful. Saturation 2. Actually, I realized without using this texture, I lost track of these darker dots. So I wanted to actually get that back. There's my orange, beautiful. Now you see that actually got lost a little bit. And I would like to show you how we can fix this seam issue here to make this believable or tick more believable. And the process for both is pretty much the same. I will do this on the OBJ part. I will hide here everything else so you can see what I'm working on. We're going to edit mode. Then I will select the wood and click select. And then I press the H key to hide. Actually, where's this one hidden here? View regions. I should have figured that out before making this video. But H is hide, Alt H is unhide. So press H and it's hidden. Okay. We will now go into point select. That is good. And then we can here select the lasso, maybe go to this type of a view. The ground plane is going to be in our blocking our view. And then I draw very carefully here a selection around this. When you turn this one on, then actually the selection grows. Pretty cool. So this is actually all the material of this upholstery that's on the inside. For rendering, we don't need this. So we select it press X and delete. And then we just have this shell, and that is the key. What we can do now is we can select this geometry. So you see better what will happen. I will hide actually the overlays of this mesh. And then you can go to UV, unwrap, and say angle based, for example. Takes a second. We don't really see anything. That is fine, because now for this leather material, we are using UV. So you think about UV, X and Y coordinate system, and then the box mapping is gone. We do this via linear and flat. It's like one sheet of paper, and look at that. A lot of these issues are gone. We can also try out minimum stretch. That's a different type of unwrapping. I have to select everything. I think I deselected it. Minimum stretch takes a second to calculate. Oh yeah, this is actually, no, here we have some issues. So there it is not so good. So I think if we go back to angle based, yeah, look at that. That is actually really nice. Alt H to show the wood again. And then when we leave edit mode, turn all this on, this actually looks really, really nice. That's actually quite good. Yeah, that's basically how then you can take the OBJ model and prep this more. And I would say with this, we kind of like concluded this exercise. I showed you how you can use the USDZ and replace all the materials in it if you want to. Or you can bring in an OBJ file that has no materials in it and then just retexture it. We break it apart, for example, with the legs to rotate them, the objects, so that then via the box mapping, everything perfectly flows over it. And as a bonus, let's actually repair here our, these are buttons, yeah, our USDZ export. You see, because we're sharing the same material, we do have some issues here. And we can do with the USDZ export pretty much the same. So we can go to edit mode. Then I will select the leather. Actually here, deselect, or AA, nothing is selected. Select leather and click select. Then I press Alt H, no, Shift H, sorry, Shift H to hide the opposite. Here we have these same fragments we need to remove. So select nothing, and then I quickly drag this over there. There, and press X and delete. Very good. There are some fragments there. So actually, let's undo it. Select everything. So with A, and then we go to mesh, we do a cleanup. Remember, these are actually our fragments. These fragments we're going to fuse together via the merge by distance, a common command in polygon modeling. We want to keep the sharp edges. We want this to be basically 0, so only points that overlap are fused together. Very good. AA, deselect everything. And then let's see how this works. There we are. This is better. X and delete. Sweet. Very good. And then A, same thing. Unwrap. Takes a second. Boom. There we are. Pretty cool, no? Because we have this UV unwrapped, that does not mean that we cannot go back to the old box mapping, by the way. It just then simply overwrites everything what we did. And because the the same material is shared among all the objects, you see one adjustment to that material adjusts all the objects too. Okay, that's it.